for swarm control. You get just even use your leftover cardboard box and make up a nuke with it during the warmer months, it'll be fine. If you're pulling frames of brood bees, especially with eggs, let's say late April into May, as swarm control, taking some pressure off your boomer colonies, then you can let some of those turn into walk-away splits and let them raise their own queens, especially mid-May and beyond. So that's one way to raise a queen, by just moving some frames into a box and not doing anything else. You wait for 4 weeks, come back, many times you'll have a queen there that's laid. And then you can use her to replace a hive that goes queenless. Or, hey, if you make a split and you start some nukes, and then, hey, you got some hives going downhill or you need to push them up, you can always add them back in. Pick the better of the queens, kill the worst one, transfer the new one back in. So in my bee classes, I tell people a nuke is one of the most useful things you can have in your apiary, whether you have one colony of bees or whether you have 100, okay? And the nice thing about if you just have one beehive, you don't want to, I don't want to expand all the equipment, but with one, a lot of times you're stuck if something happens, if it starts going downhill. But even if you just start a nuke, late in the spring or in the summer, if you start that hive new, you've always got some backup resources there to transfer back into your original parent hive. So they're very valuable to do. So good question.
I thought you were talking about nutrients.
Okay. There's great ways to keep queens on hand. And you throw some frames of eggs in there with brood bees and a frame of food in mid-May, mid-June. Most of them, if the weather's good, will have queens in them.
Especially in the fall. You see September, October, you got a hive in the fall, you got a new.
It's a lot harder to find a queen that time of the year too, unless you got one of your new guys.
And for me, it's very valuable to have. I usually keep them up to a lot colder.
Then you combine them back.
And I'll just pick out, I got 20 nukes sitting around, I just figure out where I'm going to go. Make sure I got enough bees. I want to make sure I got enough bees to make it. I think that's one of the reasons that we can't winter bees is I just don't see the bees in the hives in the fall useless. And well, that's why the one for migratory guys don't have any. So bee numbers, pollen in the fall, huge. I'll take it as long as I can.
There was a study that came out a month or two ago talking about local queens versus regional queens and stuff. And it's just one, but I think it's going to start more of those studies. But the findings were, looking at bees even up in New York, that it was more to do with the population going into the winter. Like John was just saying, the number of bees in that hive, the fact that it was queen right, had good food reserves, and had adequate bees, a lot of bees, was the one determining factor that they came across with overwintering survivability in the Northeast, which has about the same type of winter that we have, versus where the queen came from.
Well, you're talking right now, you got bees that are falling off, they're dying, old age. So if it wasn't for the bees that were hatching, October, November, some in December, you won't make it to March. March is gonna be harsh.
We've had a long
Heat
winter.
again.
Yeah.
I mean, you get them sub-zero temperatures, you lost a third of your wall of bees, that's a lot of heat.
You gotta have critical mass to be able to thermoregulate. All right, yes ma'am. Oh, and I forgot to remind me at the end, I'll let you
Okay,
speak, sorry.
great, no problem. So, it sounds like when the queen starts egg laying in the spring, is dictated by the light, right? So that was
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
the light.
Yep.
Okay, so if we were going to do, let's say, an oxalic acid vaporization as your spring mite control, you're saying you need that now? Because you have to do the, you have to really food, right?
Yeah. So, you want to chime in on that?
You're talking about vaporization?
Vaporization?
The cluster would be too tight now. You
Right.
Get the vaporization in there.
Okay.
If we talk cluster forms, I'm gonna
Another thing, how many of you use oxalic acid vaporization? Okay, it can be very effective. When 10 years ago, when people first started using it, the wines and all came out, people were saying, oh, we need to do it 3 times during a brood cycle, 7 days apart. Okay, Randy Oliver did a lot of research on this, others have, and I would strongly encourage you, if you're a vaporizer, sublimator, you need to be doing it every 3 or 4 days for the course of a brood cycle to be effective. And to be honest with you, it's not as effective when there's brood in the hive as it is when the hive is broodless. Okay, that's when oxalic acid has its strength, when you can use it just 1 time, maybe twice, when the hive is broodless or very near broodless and most of your mites are exposed. When you have a lot of brood in the hives, it's hard to kill mites, because then you're killing a bug on a bug, but there's very few of the bugs on the bug that are in the brood of the bug. Say that 5 times.
So 3 to 4 days, every 3 to 4 days, sublimate for 21 days.
Yeah, instead of the 3 times, okay? And then you start getting into those, okay? And this is me just telling you. Then you start getting into the frequency that is above and beyond what is approved for use, okay? So there's a lot of stuff on Randy Oliver's website about killing bugs on bugs that deals with stuff that's not necessarily approved, but it kills bugs on bugs, okay? So there's things that you will see and hear from people individually that people like Anna Heck can't say being associated with a university, or I don't need to say as part of a organization's guidelines for treatment, right? Because they don't fall within what's approved. So you got to keep that in mind too. Just many of you are doing it the old way, and the old way wasn't really good in the first place. So when you look into the new way, you understand how it really works.
With the vaporization, how hard is it actually on the bees per time that you do that?
Typically, you don't see any observable effects. And that's where the argument comes in. Is
Well,
is it
that's
effective
why,
with the
yeah,
root?
because I've seen where they say, well, don't do it more than once,
The dribble. That's the
or
dribble.
twice a year.
That's the dribble. Huge difference. The
Well, I've seen that
dribble,
with
mixing
the-
it with the syrup, it affects their digestive system, and if you do it more than once, say like a couple weeks apart or even a few months apart, you're going to be shortening the bee's life because it's affecting their digestive system.
Will that go through a fogger too?
No, throw away the foggers. Okay, that's all. Internet.
So it won't go through that?
Don't do it.
No.
A vaporizer is different than a fogger. The fat bee man with his mineral oil fogger, throw that away.
There are people that are or fogging oxalic acid, but there's no correlation for strength and dosing and
Right.
That's what I was talking
Yeah,
about as far as the fogger with
There hasn't been enough study. I mean, we still have a lot of gray area with vaporizing and sublimating it because we can't accurately
Dose.
every second know exactly what the temperature is, how much of it's effective. When you put it in a fogger, then it's just like throwing it out in the room and hoping it works. So I just say don't. I would not recommend it. Yep.
Yes.
You got a full dose in it, or
Just one, I put it in, for the first week for the handicap food, so all the mites will be exposed to it once with the soy acid.
so doses wise, it's still normal what you normally do for eating a full county?
It's for 1 box dosage, yeah.
Okay.
It's like one.
Yeah. One dosage.
Yeah, and, you know, I build, he's got one of mine, I build vaporizers, and this one blows in from the box. We do it at night when all of these are home, and, you know, it's very easy for us to measure out like those 2 brew boxes, put 2 teaspoons in the pan, and we do mix a little water with it to get it to it vaporizes better. And when it kicks on, I mean, it squirts stuff out any corner, any little crack. It seems to be relatively effective, but it only kills what's exposed.
That's the whole point of doing it every few days, trying to, as they hatch, get them.
The next round we change, we don't do it times in a row.
elaborate too on what Kent said, the question you asked about package bees. We always get the question, should you treat the package before you install it? And a lot of you might, did anybody here do that? Okay. Well, what Kent's describing is you install the package, let them release the queen, and from the time she's released, specifically when she starts laying eggs, you have about 8 days before there's capped brood. So you have a little over a week to do a treatment, a vaporization, find the day that the weather's good, the bees are all home, do that, versus doing it right at installation or while they're still in the screen pack. Too much can go wrong. You could affect the queen acceptance, the queen release. So let her get released, start laying, know that the bees have accepted her, and then you've got days before they're capping the brood. So all those mites are exposed and you can kill them with one treatment. That makes sense?
And then you said you mixed a little water with the oxalic acid for vapor?
Yep, it just, I put it all in a squirt bottle, and I just shake it up. You got ours all measured out, so you can just squirt it in there. But it seems to do a lot better job as it heats up. You think so?
Yes, I agree.
So, I mean, it just seems to do a lot better job. That's what I found out.
Any other questions?
What if 5 acres of fallow ground that you seed down into the want to for honey propagation, what do you recommend?
Bird. Oh, bird, right?
Borage.
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 Yeah, borage.
B-O-R-A-G-E.
R-A-G-E.
It flowers, I think it starts flowering in June and it will flower through September. It just keeps getting taller and taller and puts another bud on every week. Supposedly, I got some out there, just planted it last year. Supposedly, if a bee pulls nectar out of it on a nice day, they claim that the nectar will replenish itself in the blossom in hours. So it gives you a little longer honey crop. I'm not so sure that there's an extreme amount of nectar in the flower, but over the whole summer, it seems to add up. That's kind of what we're looking at from here on, more forage. It's very invasive. I mean, you don't want to put it in any place you don't want it. So you have some kind of a controlling, it'll spread really fast.
And sweetovers aren't good. Consistent sweetovers, great, consistent, and we said that now, to be honest, comes out the end out of 40, is trying to make sweetover as a basis species again, responsible, trefoil, and brown mesh. So that we don't have sweetover. It's still gonna be one.
Like tree oil and ground mesh, and have fun. Yeah, myself, it's just really
A
not.
mixture of them all.
Yeah. So your question too, I often direct people, if you just go by a pollinator mix, how many were at this meeting last year when Marla Spivak spoke? Okay. She actually, in her presentation, talked about, they did some studies up at University of Minnesota on what honeybees were attracted to. And a lot of the native pollinator mixes, well, they're for native bees. Honeybees like to go to a congested, very condensed source of nectar that they like. Native bees like to bounce around. One plant here, they like to fly over there 20 feet. And then, so that's why native prairies have a dispersal of different things running. Honeybees, for you to be really effective at giving them a lot, it needs to be a very condensed source of something they like. They don't like to go 20 feet. They like to go 2 feet, 2 inches. Boom, 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 and be able to get a lot and then go home. So there are specific mixes out there. The Bee and Butterfly Project.org, Project Apis M. You're writing this down. Those are places where you can get mixes to plant on fallow ground that have proven to be more beneficial to honeybees and also monarch butterflies and some native bees, but they're specific for honeybees. Okay? Whereas if you just go to the seed co-op and say, I want a pollinator mix, you may be getting something that's more of a native prairie mix, and it looks beautiful, and it's great for the native bees, but it may not be benefiting your hive of bees. So keep that in mind.
I would also suggest that you plant trees. Trees will bloom for 20 years. Your pollinator mix, you might get 2 or 3 years out of it. Whereas if you plant like a little leaf linden tree, good honey crop for the bees, and they'll last a whole lot longer by planting trees.
Good point, Bill. Trees. Yep.
And another thing that people really especially overlook with trees is that's your first pollen source in the spring. Before the dandelions come out, before anything else, there's birch, willow, everything's out blooming. So trees are really, really overlooked and very beneficial.
Yeah, good point. So you could even think about, taking that 5 acres and planting it in trees and then planting borage or sweet clover underneath it. And then you're maximizing your space. Because 5 acres is a lot, but it's not. So you want to maximize that usage. So trees and plants you can do. So, yeah. Question back there.
I collected some information, everybody looking at what trees to get. There's an outfit called Bee Tree Nursery. It's out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Kalamazoo, Michigan, Bee Tree Nursery.
Okay, thank you.
Go online,
Bee Tree
you can
Nursery.
buy from them. It points out the advantages of different trees and bushes.
Okay, thank you. Jim.
I'll just go back to Dr. Sal, yeah. When you mix it up like a paste,
Yep,
or just like a paste.
yep, yep.
I assume you
It
get-
doesn't-
You give it 1 gram of that paste, or you give it a little more, you give it a little
It's
water?
per brood box. How you wanna mix it is like 1 tablespoon per brood box. So you got 2 brood boxes, you use, or, I'm
Teaspoon.
sorry.
Tablespoons of
2 teaspoons is how we do it. And if you got a really, really booming hive, I might give it just a little bit more. But that way you're putting the right concentrate in per hive. So all the water's doing is just moving it up a little bit, making it easier for the plug to get it hot, so it all kind of comes up together. It'll take it about 3 minutes, and then all of a sudden it'll just blow it in. It'll take about a minute for it to finish. But and then I just plug the front of the hive. And I leave it in there. Yeah, I pull it back out, plug the front of the hive. We do it at night. All the bees are home.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is the best thing to use for that acetic acid? Is that the best tool to use to apply that acetic acid?
Okay.
What would that be? I mean, you just pick up a part or?
We have the stigma.
Which stick, John makes them, a lot of people make their own. You can buy, there's some out there you can buy, most of the bee supply catalogs have them. All of them basically work, it's just a matter of, maybe there's some pros and cons. How is John, when you build them, what works best?
Well, for us, we do it, when the bees are home, it's the best. Anytime you gotta tear the box down or, what we found with the pan is that it fogged more in a bee than it did fog clear the outside edges. So that's why we added a fan to it. And, it was just easier at night. You could just walk up there, stick it in the front. I just got a couple little towels, just lay down on each side of it. And, it plugs into like 4-wheeler pickup. I can do 25 hives on my 4-wheeler and get on it and drive away.
So what makes the fogger
Work, it's just a gold plug. Same thing.
Where do we get more information on how to get them?
Where? Talk to me.
John, for his question.
See that lady right over there? You can get the info from her.
All right, any other, we're gonna take a couple more questions, and then we have to do a real quick announcement, and then an election. Yes, Carl.
Does any of you implement the seed, plant seed before?
We have done, buckwheat. Way back when they did a lot of buckwheat. And talked about it, buckwheat. That is one year long. Buckwheat.
class, you haven't heard of it.
Very.
Yes, sir.
When would you start putting,
It depends on you, okay, if you wanna make more bees and you're prepared to deal with more bees, I know guys up here who've been doing it since mid-January, okay? So, with that, if you're stimulating them early, they have to have carbohydrates, pollens, and proteins, so if you're giving them that to stimulate them, and you're stimulating brood rearing, you can be getting yourself in a bind when we have this kind of weather, but also if they run out of food. So you have to think, you can't just throw a pollen patty in there and say, oh, that's gonna help me in April when I open my bees up. No, it's not that easy. So if you're gonna do it, it's gotta be part of the program that's planned. But I would put these in overwinter hives up here, starting usually in late February, early March, depending on the weather. So that wouldn't be this year. Okay, last year, we were thawed out by now. I mean, you know, there wasn't this, and we didn't have negative stuff in the forecast the first week of March. It wasn't bad. So last year I would have been putting in pollen late February, but I was prepared to deal with it, feed thus, okay? And then in the fall, I'm watching what they're bringing in. They haven't brought in a lot of pollen, and even then, I still usually give them a little to make sure they've got enough, because that's what they're going to use early in the next spring before I give them. Okay?
What kind of pollen you find that, say, goldenrod, you pretty much have pollen after.
Yeah, it's, in the fall, it's typically goldenrod, aster, a little bit of thistle that's left, maybe some rotten end stuff, but primarily goldenrod.
So we're almost forced to start feeding pollen by then.
Well, most years they're getting a lot of goldenrod pollen. Last year, the rain kept them back, so what do you guys do?
Well, for us, you know, you're talking mid-September, goldenrod's gone.
Yeah.
And we just start feeding patties at that point. Let them, I want them to put on pretty much as they can, as long. Once they quit, then, you know, she decided it's done. So that's what we do. Some years we're pretty solid, some years we don't. I mean, it's a draw. But I'll tell you what, it's a long time. If she quits, if she has no more pollen at mid-September, a long ways to April, May. So you need to shorten that window up, right? I think.
And you're right, when you follow pollen summer and feed the fall, we'll be starting in mid-September. And then when winter bees here, I start feeding in March. My bees come back the end of March now, so the first thing we feed is pollen summers.
I'd say this year you're talking for 2 more weeks. I'm gonna guess before I should start working on it. 2 more weeks. You're talking, well, the way I do maple syrup, so I kind of watch this forecast, and once it starts bumping at 30 degrees, you know, the bees will start to think, you know, we need to maybe put a little bit of brood in. It might only be just a little, a couple frames. She needs to know that it's there. She knows.
Okay, thanks, guys. I'm going to let somebody come up real quick. She has an announcement. Isla Hill is going to tell you about something that's going on tomorrow, right?
Hi everyone, I'm Isla Guild. I'm with the Walworth County Beekeepers Club. But what I really do is I'm part of the Hive Tap Room. My husband and I run the tap room. We make our own mead. So we make a session mead. It's not traditional. But the main reason I want to say to talk to you guys is because going in line with what we've been talking about with planting for pollinators, we have a session tomorrow. It's the 6th of our 6 beginning beekeeping sessions. But this topic is actually planting for pollinators. So we have Larry Ziegler from the Nature Conservancy in McWanago coming to talk about what they've been doing in the McWanago East Troy area to promote pollinator habitat, mostly for the native pollinators. But he's also going to be talking about what we can do in our communities to help foster a diversity of plant species to improve the health of all of the pollinators. So it'll be tomorrow at the Hive Tap Room in East Troy. It's a free seminar from 1 to 2 p.m. and it'll be fun to see you guys there.
Good, thanks. With that being said, we are pretty much done, and we do have to have an election. I'm gonna call Kent up to do that. This is only, you can only vote, say aye or raise your hand if you are a member of the Wisconsin Honey Producers. Okay, so all you foreigners from Illinois, keep your hands down in your house. I'm just joking, y'all.
Okay, with that, short and informal election here, we accept nominations from the floor. Tim is our current chairperson for this district. He did say he would accept the nomination to be chairperson again if he's voted in. So we're now having nominations for chairperson.
I second that.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Nominate yourself.
Move to close.
Close nominations.
Second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor of Tim as chairperson, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Kent. I want to thank everybody for coming. Despite the weather this morning, I was a little scared that we were going to get a hampered turnout, but it's a good crowd. I think we learned a lot, good speakers. That being said, we'll see you the next time we see you.